Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday, which means it's time for yet another Salty Saturday morning. I'm your host, Mr. Kadish. Get it right. And joining me, as always, is my fantastic panel of nerds, starting with Dutch Butters. How you doing, Dutch?
You could have called us the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
There's
five of us.
Yeah.
There's one of you, but there's four of us.
Yeah.
You already introduced yourself.
Matt Kadish and the Fantastic Four. Oh.
Okay. Tom,
don't call me that. Then everybody would call me freaking Ben Grimm or something stupid. I don't know.
The Thing.
The Thing. Yeah.
Which is funny because that's his wife's name for his weenus.
I'm the flaming guy.
Oh no, you're gonna put that thing near me again? She says all the time. No, I'm just kidding, Dutch. I'm just picking on you.
Hi, Brian. How are you today?
All right, bro.
You good, buddy? All right, cool. Introduce Brian. I don't know what to say after all that, dude.
All right. Well, he's here. He's queer. He's canceled his show today because he's just way too busy. Mr. Brian from the podcast. How you doing, Brian?
Not bad, man. Not bad. Good to be here.
So no brain show today.
No, working on the next video. I got stuck in the weeds the last couple days.
What's the next video?
Hard. So, and I gotta get this done by today. So,
you want to give us a sneak peek at what the next video is going to be?
Nope, I don't want Shane to get upset. It's Superman. It's Superman related though.
Does it have to do with nuclear energy at all?
No. I'm not touching that one, dude.
What would happen if Shane got upset? I mean, really?
I mean, it's gonna come out by like latest by tomorrow. So who cares? It's we're doing the Superman. The Superman Returns saga. So from Superman Flyby, Batman vs Superman, all the like when they tried to like relaunch Superman in the late 90s and failed over and over and over and over again. Superman Lives, all those. So that's that whole saga, the failure to launch version, and then there'll be another Superman video in a couple weeks. And then that's it for Superman. And I never thought I would say this, but I'm actually getting a little tired of Superman.
I'm going to say you're ODing on Superman. There.
I'm ODing a little bit on Superman, guys.
Yeah, well, enough about ODing. Let's talk about OMB, as in OMB reviews. Oh. Odin, Lord of the Shelves, the king of the pineapple pizza. How you doing, buddy?
I'm surprised you didn't do instead of ODing, let's Odin.
Odin, there you go.
He's going to tell you to start hosting the show now. You keep it up.
Yeah, I was going to say you should be hosting the show.
I'm doing okay. My son is not napping today, and he thought it was very important that I tell everyone that this is Nessie, his Loch Ness monster toy. So
cool.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Nessie.
Hi, Nessie.
What's up, Nessie?
All right, and now I need to return this to him, so I'll be right back.
Okay. And I'd like to introduce the new host of the show, Tom Connors Jr.
Yeah,
Tom Connors Jr.
How you doing, Tom?
I don't host anything.
Well, you're hosting a 50th celebration of Jaws tonight, apparently.
I guess so. If anybody wants to show up, it's tomorrow night. But yeah.
Oh, it's tomorrow night.
Yeah.
That makes me feel old as hell.
I think. Did I put it on the wrong day?
Man.
Yeah, because I usually do a tier list on Sundays. Oh yeah, it's set for the right day. You're just wrong.
That's why you need to be the new host, so that we can be right for a change.
I got to be on time then, and that's just asking too much of me.
Oh, you do have that cereal to eat. So for those of you out there,
already, it's right here. I had Crunch Berries.
There you go.
So
for those of you out there who are wondering where Mr. Reagan is, I can assure you that he will be joining us. He actually texted me about 5 minutes ago. And he said, hey, I'm running a little bit late. Go ahead and start without me. I will hop on. So he will not be another no-show, hopefully. But he did say that he will be here eventually. So we will be hosting Mr. Reagan officially once he gets his butt in gear, because I think he might be just mingling with too many hot Asian women to be here on time.
You know, eventually can mean next Saturday. Just
it could, yeah. But I want to give a big shout out to Eric Winberg, who gave us his obligatory One Salty Nerd Podcast membership, as he does every Saturday. Thank you so much, Eric. And guys, our top Salty Saturday superstar has joined the chat. It is Scotty Dub returning triumphantly. by dropping $50 on us. Let's fucking go, my beloved salty nerds. I really hope Mr. Reagan joins the crew today. That dude is based and loves hot Asian women. Odin, you're still my second favorite behind Mr. Kadish. Don't tell Shane. So,
Thank you.
yeah. And, speaking of Scotty Dub, we need to give a big shout out
What
on
Shane
the
is he
leaderboard.
talking about?
You're Shane.
Oh, I'm
Probably.
Shane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're not Shane, but your apostrophe
Oh,
R.
he's referring to my Shane. I see.
Yeah. Or no, you're no apostrophe R. Just
I get it.
R.
I get it.
All right. See, I'm wrong again, guys. I can't keep hosting the show being this wrong. But big shout out to Scotty Dub, who still tops the leaderboard at $500 super chat. He is also our top contributor still. So thank you, Scotty. Always appreciate you. In second place is Made You Say Butts, aka William Forbes, for $300. Mexican Iron Man, who is not here again today, he is our most consistent contributor, but he's been kind of slacking off a little bit lately. I don't know if you guys noticed.
He's been slacking off.
Not showing up for the show. Then Jillian H, Major Chai Chai, and Eric Winberg are our top most consistent gifters. So really appreciate you guys. And we got our goal for 10 new members. Thanks to Eric Winberg, we're now down to 9. We just need to get 9 more members to get that or
He's
hit that
taking
goal.
out people left and right, so watch out, kids.
Exactly. And then we're trying to get
Little,
to
2 little, 3 little Indians. What?
we're trying to get to 25,000 subs, guys. And so if you like our stuff and want to share it around, we would really appreciate it because we got a long way to go. We're creeping up on that 21K mark, but we're going to hit 25K by the end of the year. We're going to need a lot of help and a lot of support. Speaking of support, guys, we have our community over on saltynerd.discord.com. Dutch, do you want to tell everyone why they should
Nope.
go over and join Salty Nerd Discord?
I don't. No, I don't at all. We're talking about video games over there, guys. We used to talk about stuff, pop culture stuff, but nobody talks about that stuff over there. It's all video games. It's the Salty Nerd Gaming Discord. So, no, I'm kidding. We got a lot of people over there. We're talking about all kinds of stuff, video games, pop culture, movies, TV. Come join us. It's a lot of fun. There's a big group over there. So
A lot of porn over there for some reason.
a lot of porn. Yeah, a lot of that.
Gamers are as bad as weebs. As soon as they start taking over a group, it's all over.
Yeah. We do have a large
Sorry, gamers
gaming.
and
We do have a large gaming section over there now. The gaming channel is growing quickly. So, but I'm not going to say it's a bad thing. So it's good.
Well, guys, since there is no brain show today, we want to give a big shout out to Mephisto's Movie Reviews, who does the Real McCoy podcast right after this show is over. And in fact, Mephisto is coming in hot with Mephisto's with 15, I don't know what Israeli money is, shekels. I have no idea.
Clams.
Yep.
But he says, come hell, rockets, or drones, the Real McCoy is live today after the Salty Nerd. We are covering Old School, a Todd Phillips comedy from 2003. That's my boy Blue right there.
So he's going streaking through the gymnasium.
Let's
Exactly.
go.
One streaking. So go check out Mephisto's Movie Reviews right after our show is over. He's going to be talking about one of the greatest comedies of all time. I really love Old School. I think it's a very funny movie. All right, guys. So Mr. Reagan hasn't joined us yet, but we're going to be talking about stuff that he probably didn't care about anyway, which is Amazon spending $2 billion on a movie slate coming in 2026. Yes, I don't know if you guys are aware, Amazon has a lot of money, and they don't like to spend it very, very intelligently. But essentially, they're going to be spending $1 billion on 20 movies, 10 of which are slated for theatrical release. And they're going to be matching that by spending $1 billion in prints and advertising. So in total, $2 billion. And what was funny about this Deadline article, by the way, links in the description to all the articles we're covering today, is that they were bragging about how much season 3 of Rings of Power cost. Where they're like, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Rings of Power costs $60 million per episode.
That is not a brag.
Yeah, I know, right?
You should not brag about that,
You
guys.
should not brag about that. But they're going forward with their season 3 plan at $60 million per episode. And I think it's 10 episodes, something like that. So it's like $600 million on that show alone, which is about over half of their $1 billion budget. So I don't know what
That's
they're going to
crazy.
be throwing that
Like,
towards.
Hey, investors, you hear about that? We burned $60 million on every episode.
Exactly.
Have a show nobody watches. So that's
Yeah,
good.
but it is interesting that they're kind of like committing to at least 10 theatrical releases throughout the course of next year.
So, my math correct? That would be $200 million a feature, right? A billion divided by 20.
Did I think I read that wrong.
Well, you got to subtract 600 million from the Rings of Power.
Oh, so that's added in with that. That's why they're trying to hide that cost, is what it is then.
Yeah, probably. But Tom, since you wanted to chime in with the math,
No, I was just trying to figure out in my head the math on that because
yeah. Well, what do you
Yeah,
think about Amazon's plan to spend $1 billion on movies in 2026?
at first I was
$1
freaking out
billion.
because I thought Mikey was in the chat and he was going to be like, "That's what Tom's bill is for Blu-rays to Amazon every year." I mean, if they're going to release them theatrically, there's more to it than that. I mean, Odin probably has a better take on this than I do because Amazon's a funky animal on how they make their movies. They're kind of like Apple and Netflix to where they can put them out in theaters and make some money on it, but it doesn't really matter. Their subscription base is big enough that it probably does cover a lot of this crap. And I know like Red One is an example of this. They just came out with a Working Man here recently with another kind of situation where it was a lower budget film and probably made its money back and then some.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think you guys are reading this article wrong because what it says is in 2026 we'll be releasing 20 movies,
But
10 of which will be
are
going to the theater,
theatrical.
and 10 of
Yeah.
which are going to be only on Amazon. I thought because
That was what I was thinking too. So this is, I think it's
it sounded to me like
600.
you just said they were making 10 movies. So that's
Well,
20
they're
movies
making.
with the
Yeah,
with $1 billion.
I did say, I know that I have a track record of being wrong, but I did say 20 movies and then 10 of which for theatrical release.
That's not what I heard. But
Agree
okay.
to disagree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was under the impression you were saying they took the amount out of that 1 billion for Rings
Well,
of Power.
Yeah.
Well, no, that is true. So like, they have $400 million that they're going to divide up between 20 movies essentially.
Okay. I mean,
In
look,
that
I-
case,
I-
it's even better because they might have a
Yeah.
better chance of making money back.
True. But Dutch, since you obviously want to host the show, do you
No,
want to,
will you stop? Well, I was just trying to get it right because some dickhead's gonna come in the comments and actually you, and I really don't like it when you get actually. It's not fun for anybody.
Mommy, stop
yelling So-
at Daddy.
Well, actually.
Well, actually, let me push my glasses up on my forehead. I'm gonna get these guys here.
you
So,
missed
yeah.
the decimal point.
Yeah.
in addition, they're also highlighting the Citadel franchise, which we all know is super cheap to produce. But Odin, what's your take on this? Do you think Amazon is spending their money wisely?
I mean, I feel like they never typically are, especially you think back to how much has been invested into Rings of Power and how great of an investment that has been for them. And yeah, going back to what Tom was saying, I know very little as far as how these specific companies like Amazon and like Apple make their money. I know that they obviously have subscriptions, but let's be honest, I don't think Apple TV is really selling a lot of subscriptions necessarily. I think most of the money that Apple makes is being made by the other things that they do, kind of like with Amazon as well, right? Amazon, it's not like people are specifically going for Prime Video. It's that they have Amazon Prime for shipping and stuff, and then they happen to therefore also get Prime as well. So that makes it very tricky to really kind of pinpoint exactly how they are making their money or how much is actually going towards this specific thing. Basically, though, it means that they can spend almost anything they want and they could write it off in some way and then they can explain it away in some way and they'll overall still be fine because they have a lot of, FU money kind of. Like they can just kind of like, it feels like that's what is going on there because in theatrical terms, if we are just looking at their budgets, their release, the films haven't done very well. That being said, if it's extra money that they're making that they otherwise would not have because it was being made for streaming initially, then overall they'll still be okay. But I would still describe them as theatrical flops. But I would have to add in that caveat of theatrical versus complete and total.
Is Bezos and his woman married yet? Because as soon as they get married, their FU money is going away because
At least half of it.
that chick has got like really expensive taste and she's gonna go spend all of his money, and
Oh, I
it's
thought you
going to
meant
be
they were getting a divorce.
well. That's going to happen too. That's going to
Well,
happen too.
what I was getting at, Odin, was like with Red One and stuff like that. I guess a lot of that movie was funded by all the product placement that was in the movie, right? So then you add in the synergy of the ability of watching it on Amazon, and every time one of those toys or products pops up, you can hit your X-ray button or whatever it is on your Amazon, and you can add it to your cart, right? So all these things are kind of like created in that way. And from my understanding was that a lot of that movie was prepaid for, so the theatrical release was nothing more than a extravagant trailer for Amazon Prime when it came on there, and then it was #1 the day it dropped, where it was less than a month or whatever after it came out in theaters. So like their whole strategy is like, for them, the theater is more of a advertising tool than it is an actual money making tool. And Apple, you're right, like they're kind of hard to compare because they don't put their movies out in theaters, so it is like literally apple to oranges in this respect.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is that the $1 billion that they're going to be spending in marketing is definitely going to be going towards those 10 films. And most of their kind of Amazon original movies are in like, I believe, the $30 million range. So like half of their slate is going to be getting a big marketing push, not the least of which is the Masters of the Universe movie, which I guess
I can't wait till they release the theatrical version of 5 Bitches Go to Space. That's going to be awesome. I cannot wait for that movie. Already made, really cheap to put. They said put fuel in the rocket in the giant space dildo.
I've seen that movie though. I've seen that movie on the hub.
You can look at it this way: Amazon is seemingly trying to win the guys back. Like they're finally getting. It sounds like full steam ahead on Highlander, which was sitting in
that's good
development hell for a while, and they picked it up, I think. And
and Russell Crowe just signed on. Yeah, Sean Connery. Yeah.
Yeah, which I thought was stupid. It's like, why didn't you get Antonio Banderas?
I know, right?
He was Zorro. I mean, anyhow, but yeah, so like that's seemingly happening now, and Bond has been a lot of talk about that. There's directors and stuff like that. So I think they're going to be trying to do some things that are big, but if they're only spending $20-30 million on a movie, that's good, because that will teach Hollywood that you can do this. And what's their excuse? Because like, look at movies like A Working Man. Didn't cost that much to make.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brian,
is it Fat Russell Crowe as the?
Yes,
that was my worry, but I guess he's lost some weight. Some people are saying. I'm like, he better have.
It's Puffy Russell Crowe. We'll just leave it at that.
Nice.
Yeah, Puffy Crowe. Yeah. Brian, what's your take on Amazon spending upwards of $2 billion on their 2026 slate?
I'm just waiting for this whole streaming bubble to like pop, because like the amount of money they're spending on movies right now is silly. It's so unnecessary. And then, these great franchises that are original or beloved, that can go all the way, that can have serious legs, get cut off before they can actually do anything, because the studio's like, oh shit, we spent $200 million on that movie and we only made $260 million at the box office or whatever, and they don't make enough money on it, and so they cancel it. Essentially, every movie has got to make like $1 billion now for it to be profitable, and that, like, it was never meant to work that way. I know everyone wants to be like the next Marvel with their franchise, or Mission Impossible, or whatever the latest trend is, but like, movies shouldn't have to make $1 billion, which means you need to spend less on your movies. And I don't know how to do that, because like the current culture that they exist in, like, dude, the more documentaries that I make on my main channel, the more I realize how far we've fallen from like how movies are supposed to be made. It's insane. They were talking about, for like the Superman 1978 movie, they were talking about how much the marketing budget was. They're like, the marketing budget was $6 million. And I'm like, that's it? Like, that's it? Back then, that's insane.
Yeah, but at that time, that was the biggest amount they'd ever spent on a marketing.
That was an insane amount of money to spend on marketing. Now it's like, if you aren't spending $100 million on marketing, you're doing something wrong. Like, what?
How much was that in adjusted money, though? What would that be today?
I mean, not $100 million.
1978 money, $107 million. What would that be?
What was the marketing budget again for
$6 million?
$6 million in 1970.
Right.
78, I think is what it was. Superman, right?
1978. Yes.
I got
And,
roughly 30 here.
Okay.
So that's still
about
even really low.
5.1 times. So yeah.
So
yeah, roughly
same,
30. Yeah.
yeah, same with Batman. The marketing budget for Batman was $1 million, and they
Yeah, that was
they talked
big,
about
yeah.
it like it was a lot of money. $1 million in the late 90s, and it like now $100 million is totally normal. We have to stop spending so much bloody money on these movies because they're not going to make their money back. And when they don't make their money back, studios are going to get gun shy and they're going to cancel it. And what could have been a great franchise is going to be Gonzo. And that we're seeing that happen now, especially with like original movies. You know, Kingsman, when it came out, or I think it was called Kingsman, right? Yeah, Kingsman.
Yeah.
Super original. It was actually pretty affordable to make. Everyone was like these no names except for that
Pretty funny.
that one guy. It was funny. Matthew
Sam
Vaughn did a really
Jackson.
good job.
Yep.
Yeah, people really liked it.
Michael Caine, Sam Jackson were no names.
No, I'm talking about the main character, whatever.
But
his
I
name
don't
at
think
the
they
time.
spent a ton of money on those two guys.
No, they didn't. That's the point. That movie didn't cost a lot of money to make, and it made a ton of money. And the crazy thing is, it didn't make like a ton of money in comparison to like a Marvel movie or whatever. It made a good amount of money for like regular movies, and because you spent a normal amount of money on it and you didn't go nuts, the return on that February, it was a February release, was 3, 4, 7 times its budget. And so they're like, oh my God, let's make a Kingsman 2. And what did they do on Kingsman 2? They tripled the budget.
Yeah, don't do that.
And then when they tripled the budget and they made the same amount that they made on the first movie, they were disappointed.
Well, most
What
of that
did you
budget,
expect?
most of that budget went towards Pedro Pascal. So
But you tripled the budget. Did you really expect more people to come see the second movie?
Oh yeah, Hollywood's bass backwards now, right? I mean,
it's
Jaws
nuts.
turned 50 yesterday, and it's almost like they're making every movie like Jaws. Like even Steven Spielberg has said that movie kind of changed Hollywood not for the better, because what it did was they got so deep in and over their heads with Jaws that the studio just kept throwing money at it. Right. And that's what they're doing with every movie now. It's like, oh, you're over your budget. Here's some more money. It used to be, it's like, oh, you're over your budget. Tough shit. Make it work.
Oh,
Like that's used to be what they were told. And now it's like, oh, here's another 100 million. Make it work. Make it work. And it's like, what are you doing?
Bro, Warner Brothers and the Salkinds ran out of money 3 times during that first Superman movie. 3 times. And you know what Warner Brothers told them every time? Tough shit.
Tough shit.
I love
Tough
how
shit.
Brian,
You're not gonna get any more money.
Brian is just full of Superman facts.
I can't.
Well,
I
he's
can't
right.
stop.
Everything
In fact,
is
that's why
Superman.
Warner Brothers owns so much of the movie now, because every time they come back, they're like, well, that sucks that you ran out of money. I guess we own a little bit more of Superman.
Yeah, that's
Here's
exactly
another
what
check.
happened.
Yeah.
The Salkinds
And it just kept happening. Yeah.
They kept losing shares, basically. And then what happens was when they finally had a chance to make some money on it, they didn't have enough ownership and they didn't have any capital to make a second movie, a third movie, and so Warner Brothers took it over, essentially. I mean, there's a lot more steps to it, but like
There is, but yeah, it's basically what happened. And it is. It's like Hollywood's decided to do that for every movie now, though, right?
Yep.
Like, that's why it's kind of refreshing to hear James Gunn say shit like, we're not going forward till these movies are ready. This is why I never believed any crap about him doing reshoots, because I don't think he did. It sounds like he went into Superman fairly well pre-planned with storyboards and everything, knowing what he was going to do, so he didn't have to. And that's how movies used to be made, and where they didn't go over budget. And that's where the budget used to come from, is like you sit down, you plan out your film, the most expensive areas, you work all that out. It's like, well, we don't have enough money for this, but we have enough money for this. So which is it? Well, let's compromise and come up with something in between, right? That's how movies used to work. But nowadays they just spend $200, $300, $400 million on a movie, and just like it's nothing. And I'm sitting here going, what the fuck? And the bigger problem isn't even the movies, guys. It's the streaming shows. Right. Mm-hmm. That's where I want to know, where is the money coming from? Because they're making these shows for like twice as much as it costs to make these movies, when TV shows used to cost nothing. Right. Like an episode of Star Trek now costs as much as the entire season of TNG. Like that is ridiculous.
Oh, yes. I mean, we talk about Rings of Power because its budget was so bloated, but that's like the extreme. But there's a lot of shows right now that are coming on that came out on streaming that are really close to that extreme, and they're just not being spoken about. Like Discovery and that the last season cost a ton of money, and they knew they weren't gonna make their money back, and they just still spent the money. It's crazy.
I wish I was like one of the money guys on Star Trek right now, because you want to go in there. It's like, why is this a real working starship bridge with everything actually working? You get two guys behind the door and they open the door like manually when they want to walk through it to make it look like it's manual. You know,
Alex, did we build an actual teleporter? Why would we do
really
that?
work?
Well, this has happened to Brian Fuller twice, right? With Star Trek and with Friday the 13th. And both times the reasons for firing him was your shit's too expensive. So what do? They bring in somebody and restart from scratch. And it's like, wasn't that a hell of a lot more expensive than just kind of seeing through what Brian was going to do in the first damn place?
That's so true.
Because like with Friday the 13th, they just he built an entire camp that they're not going to use.
I don't understand the concept. Like,
Also, that Friday the 13th show was called Crystal Lake. And it
Yes,
was
to be
about
clear,
the
it's
camp.
called Crystal Lake, but yeah.
shooting like these elaborate shots on elaborate sets, and then cutting it from the movie so you can have an extra showing at the theater makes no sense, because now you cut out like $30 million worth of your budget just randomly, and you're praying you make that up with an extra showing for a movie that is arguably 20% less of a movie.
And a couple people mentioned this in the chat already, but when you have a film that comes out like Godzilla -1, everything as far as these budgets are concerned becomes that much more ridiculous. Because you look at like how that movie looks, how the CGI looks, and then how much they spent, like what, less than $15 million to actually make the film. And there's no excuse for any of these studios to not be able to make the films that they are making for under $100 million, bare minimum. Like the fact that they're having to spend well over $100 million on any of these movies is at this point ridiculous. If I were a stockholder like Brian, I would be like demanding answers for why they are spending so much money to make movies. When again, the one question I'd say is, how did Godzilla -1 do it? How did they do it?
That's good.
Well,
There's
no,
one
well,
part of it is... Oh, go ahead, Brett. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say that a movie like Godzilla -1 doesn't have to deal with the American unions that automatically bloat every single
That's true.
project that they're involved
That's
in.
true.
Maybe they should get.
That's exactly where I was going to go. That's the problem is the
100%
unions
true.
require you to have 10 people for one job, and you can't just, make them like, look, there's other things like that they probably did compromise over there that we wouldn't normally hear to be able to make it so cheap. That being said, there still is no excuse that most movies in Hollywood can't be made for $30 to $40 to $50 million.
A couple guys hanging off the back of a ship at full speed, holding those green screen sticks. You know what
I mean,
Like,
there was some
super
questionable stuff.
dangerous, like,
And look, the other reason is their animators and all the people that were working on it aren't getting paid millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. They're literally getting paid peanuts, right? Like they're barely probably getting
like
paid
actual
a living
peanuts,
wage.
like they're being
They probably like, here's your bag of peanuts
like they're
this
being
week.
fed. That's what they're
Like
working
a bunch
for.
of elephants.
They're being fed. They're being fed food for work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I think-
let's take that into consideration. But you're not wrong. The I've said that a million times over. When you got 3 or 4 people doing one person's job, that's why Hollywood costs so goddamn much.
And
Yeah,
also,
the
like
unions
a
are
lot of
silly.
these celebrities, like they'll get anywhere from 10 to 20 million per movie, and that's worked into the budget as well. And then you have
That's a
producers
big problem, yeah.
basically siphoning funds off to line their pockets. So there's a lot of like malfeasance, and
That's one thing that can change it
money
is to
laundering.
put an end to the movie star bullshit, because guess what? They ain't movie stars no more.
No.
You ain't gonna be sitting here asking for $30-40 million paydays anymore. Guess what? Kids ain't coming to see you. They're coming to see Iron Man. Sorry,
Right.
Robert. I hate to
Yeah.
break your fucking heart. They recast Batman 12 times. It didn't matter. Didn't matter. People
True.
don't give a shit. They're not that as attached to it as you think they are. Right? Like, look at the Batman. We've got other ones coming. Nobody cares. He's supposed to get a script. Who cares? It's been 5 years since that fucking movie came out almost.
Yeah.
Like, that's where we're at now.
Yeah,
the kids
Pat-
that saw
yeah.
that movie are now in college.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pattinson is not the draw for that movie. That's for sure.
Pattinson's aging out.
No.
He's aging out of Batman, guys.
Like if they announced tomorrow that, oh yeah, don't worry, Matt Reeves is still making Batman 2, but Pattinson's gone, everyone would be like,
Well,
all right.
The
Whatever.
80s and the 90s were that age of the movie star, right? Like a movie star could come in and Arnold Schwarzenegger or Jim Carrey or whoever could go, yeah, I want 10 million, 20 million bucks for this movie. And they were kind of worth it. Now I have a hard time looking at any of these movie stars, even Tom Cruise or Keanu Reeves, and saying, are you really worth that much money now? Because guess what? You're not bringing that many butts to the seats as you used to. It used to be that way, but not so much anymore. These superhero movies and the spectacles that you've created have outdone the movie star, so you have nothing to sell it on other than it's a Spider-Man or it's a whatever,
Well,
Harry Potter.
Well, you know what's not aging out, guys, are super chats. We got way too dumb for this shit for 199. Tom, you want to read this one in your samurai accent?
I am publishing my book on Amazon, a 500-page book.
Indeed. And we got Hemorrhoid Hurts coming at us from Australia for $2. Top of the morning to you, my friends. Coffee time. Yes, thanks, Hemorrhoid. We always appreciate
Is it
you
worse when
waking up
hemorrhoids
early.
hurt or itch?
Hurt.
Yeah.
Or just itch is the first step.
Well, we
There
know.
you
I'm
go.
just saying which part is worse, though.
Hurt. Obviously.
So you hurt yourself today.
Yeah. Why don't
Coming up
you
at the top of the hour.
I
Hemorrhoid.
hurt
myself.
myself. I say mine.
all right. And guys, Major Chai Chai came in with 5 Salty Nerd Gifted
Nice.
Podcast memberships.
Oh, coming in hot.
Yeah, so we're now up to 6. We just need 4 more to hit our goal. And guys, I got a text message from Mr. Reagan as we were going through our previous discussion, and apparently the Chinese have shut down his internet temporarily because they don't want him, coming on shows like ours. But he is having internet issues, so
Just so you guys know, when he says the Chinese, he's referring to the Chinese chick in his room right now. That's
Yeah.
what he's talking about. It's not,
Yeah.
he's not the
Chinese spy.
Chinese government.
yeah, Meng Li. But
You
uh,
pay enough attention to me.
yeah. So as soon as he's done taking out the Chinese, he will join us on here with his internet connection.
As soon as he's
strong as
done
ever.
with the Chinese.
Yes,
You're the
exactly.
Saigon whore that bit off my nose.
All right. Speaking of biting off noses, guys, did you know that Superman is on track to underperform when it's released this coming week? We got a very interesting article from Deadline, which basically says that previously it was estimated that Superman was going to make 125 to 145 million upon its release, but now they're bringing those numbers down to say that it's going to be just in the 90 to 125 million range.
This
And
literally
that-
always happens. I'm not sure how this is news.
THR
Well-
said 135.
Well, I want to throw this to our numbers guy, Odin. Odin, what's your take on this? Do you think that this is accurate, that Superman's going to underperform?
So, well, first off, I would take issue. I will come to the defense of Superman, and I will come to the defense of Brian's position for once. I think
Holy,
that,
wait. Can we just cement this moment in stone? This
What
might
I
be the
will
first
say
time. This might be the first
is-
time.
Fuck it up. Just shut up, Brian.
I will do my best. Anyway, so what I was going to try to say, though, is to say underperform is to assume that the original numbers were accurate in the first place. And when those first numbers first came out, I was like, oh, I'm sorry, that's way too high. Like, there's just no way. Like, if you're honestly, and this is what the problem is that the modern Hollywood box office media does not know actually how to track these movies because they're trying to use old, outdated methods. They try to focus way too much on things like pre-sales. And though pre-sales can tell us some things, it can never account for walk-up traffic, and it can never account for a lot of other things. And so I think that what happened was when those first initial numbers came out, that they were, again, just using an outdated model. They were looking at those opening day sales saying, oh, man, this thing's going to be huge. It's like, okay, just because these people who run the site, like Fandango, don't know how to operate their systems and don't know how to prepare themselves for any of these things, and therefore have these, issues that pop up, does not mean that the movie is going to make more money than anybody else that's ever existed in the history of all time. And the one thing I always like to remind people of is just because your pre-sales are good does not mean anything. I remember when Solo, a Star Wars story, was about to come out, and there were articles being written about how the pre-sales were so good for it and that it had reasons to be hopeful. And then that movie came out, and it did not actually happen. So I would take issue with them saying underperform because, again, it's very much in this case, a comparison to previously reported numbers, which themselves were already overinflated. And so I think that this is just a more accurate portrayal of what will likely happen for the movie. And as far as it being underperforming as it being an eventual flop, we won't know that until really week 2. And also until those internationals come out, which we don't really have a good idea of what those internationals are going to look like. Because if you open to 100 million domestic, but then you open to maybe $200+ million in internationally, which is possible for the film, then you're talking about a potential billion-dollar film in that instance, right? Because most films tend to make 3 times their global opening. You look at Minecraft, you look at Lilo and Stitch, both opened to $300 million globally. Both films over 900, or Lilo and Stitch is very close to it. Will cross $900 million, but again, you see that trend. So yeah, I take issue with the framing of the thing here, and I will defend Superman. Now, do I think it's necessarily going to be a good film? Not necessarily. However, I have hope.
Yeah, no, Odin.
Rebellions are built on hope, Odin.
You're 100% right.
I want
and
to
it's all about legs. The only way it's a $1 billion movie
Week
is
two,
if it's a good movie and word of mouth hits.
Brian,
best marketing.
If it opens to 100 million and then drops 60 plus, trouble. If it opens to over 100+ million and then drops 50 to 60, okay, we might have something there. Because again, the question is, how front loaded is this movie going to be? Because if it's like a typical DC movie where it's like 70-ish% or so in the opening weekend, it could be bad. But again, we don't know that until it actually happens, and that's going to depend on the movie itself, word of mouth, etc.
So, Brian, in this article, they talk about this new metric by which they're polling moviegoers called first choice, or the definitely must-see category of movies, where people are actually willing to get off their couch, go to the movie theater, and see a movie. And in this article on Deadline, they say the first choice for this year's Captain America Brave New World was higher than Superman's first choice by 71% at the same point in time in leading up to the release. That movie opened at 88.8 million. And in addition, Superman's first choice is 64% behind that of Matt Reeves' The Batman in 2022.
So how long does the Snyder fan work for them?
It's all relative, man.
Yeah, I think that first choice system might be busted.
Remember that
Velma show? Remember Velma on Max? They're like, oh my God, look at these numbers. Everyone is talking about Velma. Let's greenlight season 2 and 3 right away. And everyone's like, everyone's talking about how much it sucks. Are you not?
Well, they already signed on for 2 seasons. That was part of the problem. But that being said, like, I don't know about this tracking thing because I just heard about this not too long ago, and I'm like, doesn't really jive with me because I'll tell you right now, you can ask a room of 10 people if they would rather watch Superman over Captain Black America, and each one of them would say Superman. And,
First choice.
And I'm not even kidding. Maybe one, maybe that one guy you smack in the face would say that, but that's just because he's a Snyder homo. But like, this is crazy and insane.
Yeah.
Like, and I shared this from the other day too, and because Odin is right. Like, this is coming from the source is called Box Office Theory, and I've never really. How new are they? They can't have been around for that long.
They're not. So yeah, quick word on them. So Sean Robbins, who runs that site, was with Box Office Pro for years, broke away to start his own Box Office Theory because their tracking is still, he hasn't changed his. He still has 135 to 175 for the tracking. And I do take his word because he was one of the few that actually predicted Barbie. Because Barbie's, like, the industry projections were so low for that movie, but he looks not only at the actual tracking, he also, like, pre-sales, he also looks at online presence, like, views. Like, he I don't know his full, calculation. I'm sure some of that stuff is kind of like his own thing, but his calculation tends to be more accurate, I feel, for a lot of movies. But anyway, continue.
Well, no, I'm glad to hear that, Odin, because, like, I put this out there, and I've been expressing, like, I don't know how to compare this to other things that he may not have been so close on, or they may not have been so close on. But just for example here, you got Thunderbolts, which they were only $4 million off on their opening. Mission Impossible, they were only $4 million off. Captain America, they were only $4 million off. And, Captain America, they were just a little bit more than $4 million off, but still, like, that's a pretty good track record so far, especially considering these are the main films that a lot of the media has been getting the opening weekends wrong on.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, again, take it with a grain of salt, or however you want to take it. It's like, I think it's going to do more in the 130 range is probably what, that guy's saying. And that's probably most likely. Yeah.
Yeah. And the one thing I'll just note too, one last thing is, even that last one that they mentioned there, that's also going only against their average, like their projection, but it's a range. And so that actually still, I think, fit within the range that he had on the site. So even though like he predicted 96 and it hit 88, I think that was still within the range that he had for what the movie would likely do. It just hit the low end of his range.
All right. Well, Dutch, we have this article over on thatparkplace.com where one of the things that they mention in this article, which I thought was kind of interesting, is that for the marketing of this film, one of the theories as to why like that number dropped from the 125 to 145 down to like 96 is that a lot of focus has been placed on James Gunn as opposed to actually Superman in terms of the marketing. James Gunn's the one there doing all the interviews. James Gunn's the one out there showing up in all the behind the scenes stuff and all the social media stuff, and that his presence as like the face of Superman as opposed to David Cornsweet is the thing that's causing people to kind of lose excitement about this movie. Do you agree with that? Do you think James Gunn is overstepping his bounds with this?
Maybe a little, because you're right there. I've seen James Gunn quite a bit out there promoting this movie, and I have not seen the actual actors for the movie doing that, But maybe maybe they're just kind of doing this because they don't want another situation on their hands where some actor doesn't know how to filter themselves and they start spouting out, political points and things like this during these turbulent times that the world is in right now. And James Gunn is professional enough to stay on topic. Now, I haven't gotten that vibe from most of these actors that are in this movie, but it wouldn't shock me if there's some of that going on. You know what I mean? So, I mean, who knows? I mean, everybody knows who James Gunn is. I mean, they're still probably trying to tap into some of that popularity he gained from the Guardians of the Galaxy times. The guy,
you're sort of right, man.
The guy makes money, and they need somebody that people know to be the face of this thing. Cornsweet, nobody knows who the hell Cornsweet is because the movie hasn't come out yet. Once this movie comes out and this movie's big, Cornsweet's going to be he's going to be like, if it's good, he could be the next Christopher Reeves. Probably not, but that could happen. But I don't think Cornsweet's in a popularity place enough to where he can go out and push a movie. And James Gunn, the face of this movie franchise, is.
I think you're right about the like the actor thing too.
Yeah.
So I have seen them on actually doing a lot of marketing. They were on the Fandango. They did a bunch of Fandango interviews. They've done tons of like YouTube content where they're just having fun. But you know what? James Gunn is there every time. So even if there's Lois and Clark and Lex, James Gunn is right off to the side. He's making sure that everything.
Don't you say anything bad?
Yeah,
don't you do it?
And the chick that plays the engineer made like a risque comment at one point, and then she was about to keep talking, and James Gunn just cut her off. He's like, oh, that's hilarious. But let's get back to this. And then like, oh, he's rounding up them actors, dude.
Stay on target.
Stay on target.
Well, Brian, go ahead, Tom.
I was just saying, because I was also one of the people first going like, why aren't they selling this movie on this kid, right? Like, because this Cornsweet kid he's a nerd like us, and I think it would help. Which they are, like Brian said, they are finally starting to get some more things out there. And I kept going, it's too much James Gunn, too much James Gunn, too much James Gunn. Well, then I was talking to some folks, and I guess he's got this huge social media following, and I guess it's one of the reasons why Guardians of the Galaxy 3 did so well comparatively to the other Marvel films at that time and since. So there might be something to that. Warner might actually be pushing him to do a lot of that kind of stuff on purpose. Mm-hmm. It's because he is kind of the new movie star. Like the director is now more of the movie star than the movie itself, right? Like
that's
anymore,
true.
You get like a Nolan movie or something like that. That's all people talk about. They don't really talk about who's in it so much anymore. But it'll be interesting to see how it opens up. But I read those interviews. I saw the other interviews with him. I like a lot of what he's saying. He's addressing a lot of the things that I think people have had issues with one way or the other. So I know he's aware of it and he's paying attention to everything. So for better or worse, we'll see how it turns out here in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it is now.
The thing about James Gunn's social media following, though, it's like most of his following is on Twitter that he never posts on anymore. which was like 1.8 million. And then he moved over to Threads, but nobody was paying attention to him on Threads. And now he's on Blue Sky, where he only has 273,000 followers. Most of those of which are pedophiles, I assume.
He still posts on Threads a lot.
And Threads and X a lot does too.
Yeah.
And he'll cross post to X from Threads.
But what I'm saying is like nobody's on Threads, so nobody pays attention to him when he posts on Threads, even though he might have like a lot of followers. Like the user base of Threads is like next to nothing, even though like because everyone who signs up for Instagram has to have a Threads account, right?
Yeah, I mean, comparably to your Twitter, you're right. But he actually communicates with people on Threads. I almost got a Threads account just to comment on one of his things, and I was like, you know what? It's not worth it. It's still, the guy can talk to me directly, and it's still not worth having a Threads account. I'm sorry. But he does communicate with a lot of fans and people on that page. Like, they're all, for lack of a better word, they're like gun freaks. They're gun simps. Like everyone on Threads is like a hyper gun simp, like just loving Gunn. When you go on X though, and there's a bunch of people that like Gunn and are positive about this movie, but then there's like a very large cadre of insane Snyder cultists that will just immediately start attacking every single post.
Brian,
no wonder
I
why
start
the guy
to
doesn't
wonder
want it.
if a lot of them are just in our circle from when the Snyder Cut happened still, because I tend to try and mute a lot of those accounts because you know me, I set them off just saying anything. So
Agreed.
like, I don't think there's nearly as many of them as they think they are.
Or they're bots.
Still. They are bots still.
Let's say there was a lot of them. That actually,
I think there's a lot of bots, and they're just loud. They're just loud assholes that just, you know, no offense. Like I don't. If you like Snyder stuff, no offense. I like Snyder stuff, but like there's people on here that aren't Snyder fans. They're Snyder assholes. You can be a Snyder fan and not be an asshole, guys. And some of these people are just straight up assholes.
Brian, I want to ask you. So basically, there's a lot of people that seem to be rooting for this Superman to fail, and I want to get your take on why you think that might be.
Because they have like this delusion that it's a delusion that if the Gunn universe fails, that somehow Warner Brothers will sell DC to Netflix, and then Zack Snyder can get his shot at finishing his trilogy. And they look at like Zack Snyder's like Instagram posts, and like they decode it. They're like, oh my god, look, he posted this picture of, and there's 3 cracks in the casing. That means that it's coming. Like, what are you guys smoking, bro? Snyder is never coming back into the DC franchise unless he's working for Gunn. The only way he ever comes back,
oh my god,
years from now, is if he's working for James Gunn. Does everyone understand that? Bro, James Gunn is not going anywhere. This movie doesn't have to make $2 billion. It just has to be good enough to keep DC going. DC already has a slate, and James Gunn is in charge of the studio. He's not a director. He's not a writer. He's all of them. He's the boss. He's in charge of all of that stuff. So if Snyder ever makes another DC film, it'll be working for James Gunn. Warner Brothers isn't going to sell it to Netflix. Zack Snyder's never going to get a chance at his trilogy again. It's over, folks. It's over. And I'm sorry if you liked it, because I liked it too. I wanted it to continue for sure. But dude, you guys, everyone here, you roasted me for months for liking The Flash. Roasted me for months. For every time there was a Snyder film, what did I say? Oh man, I love this movie. It was great.
It's fine, yeah.
Dude,
It's good.
I'm that guy.
This is the greatest thing ever.
100%. I love the Snyder Universe movies, dude. I'm a massive fan of DC, and I loved his crazy, weird, gritty interpretation of it. But dude, it's over. It's over. And you guys need to go home. Put the pitchforks down. Get off the street. Zack Snyder is laughing at you as he eats lunch with James Gunn.
Well,
It's summoning all the Snyder files, dude.
It's over. It's over.
Them.
he's not wrong. I mean,
No,
look,
he's not.
it's funny how much they gripe about James Gunn being the image of the Superman movie when these are the same people who could tell you the exact taste of Zack Snyder's balls.
Yeah, for sure, bro.
Like, that's the thing, is like, you're sitting here bitching about this guy who's actually promoting his movie when you guys are the end all be all, is the Jesus of fucking, like, seriously, I got kicked out of the Collider group because I raised a stink about a Zack Snyder is Jesus meme. I said, y'all need real Jesus. Like, this is bullshit. Like, this guy is a fucking perpetual 12-year-old, and y'all act just like him. And he doesn't even have to do anything because y'all do it for him.
Yeah.
And Brian is 100% right. That's part of it, and it is. This small group that have their brain-dead idea that fucking 15 years after the fact, somebody's going to go, you know what? We were wrong about that Snyderverse. No, nobody is going to fucking say that. Not one person. Not one person except for Zack fucking Snyder. That's it, because Zack Snyder thinks Rebel Moon would have made $3 billion if it wasn't theaters.
Yeah.
Because Zack Snyder's a fucking certified retard. That's why.
Yeah.
Bing. Anyway, point is, the other side of this.
That's an insult to the slow. How dare
It
you.
is.
Well,
It
then
is.
they go, well, remember our campaign for hashtag release the Snyder Cut. It worked, everyone. Like, it worked because of a global pandemic. streaming services.
Why don't you ask
need
anybody
for content.
right now?
There's so many things that lined up. Your hashtag had jack shit to do with that.
Why don't you
movie
ask
coming out.
anybody right now over at Warner Brothers if the Zack Snyder cut was a good idea? I guarantee you not a single person will say yes, because not only did the Snyder fans not be happy because they finally got what they wanted, they became even more obnoxious and worse. And on top of it all, it's the only movie in history that I can think of that they spent money on twice and lost money twice.
Yeah, but bro, one thing I'd say, the Blu-ray sales kicked ass on that movie.
No, they didn't.
Yeah,
no,
they did.
didn't. Where?
Blu-ray sales were through the
$19
roof.
million. $19 million. You know how much the Joss Whedon cut made? $35 million.
But bro,
Not even
that was
fucking
no.
close.
That's before streaming. You can't compare those numbers. That's before
I can compare
it
those
was
numbers.
It was
what's
free
the
to
streaming
watch.
number then, though, Brian?
That was
I know
before it was free to watch, though.
Fugazi. No money.
No.
Where's the money?
Look at DVD
Where's the
sales.
money?
Look at look at Blu-ray sales now when there's streaming services.
You guys want to know where the money is? It's in super chats. We got next $10. Okay, nerds, I heard your smack talk. Sorry I missed some shows, but life has me juggling time between clients, gun training, and women in my life. Sadly, there's only so much Mexican Iron Man to go around.
Oh.
LOL. Well, we still love you, Mikey. We appreciate you every day.
Mike pretending he's juggling women around, guys. That's funny. Okay.
He's also juggling some tacos, so there you go. You know who isn't juggling someone is Fluffy Panda for $2. Brian complaining about loud a-holes. Oh baby. Yeah.
Well, the other part of this I didn't get out was that Hollywood just has Zaslow derangement syndrome in
That's
general.
so
So
true.
they want everything to fail that comes out of Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Everything Warner Brothers does is a failure. They're the worst ever, according to everybody. Even though Universal is doing the same exact fucking thing in their studio right now, you don't see their stock being downgraded. You know, Disney hasn't had a hit outside of Lilo and Stitch. You don't see their stock being downgraded. This has all been targeted.
When does Peacemaker season 2 come out?
A couple months, I think. I can't remember when. Not long from now. I know
Really
that.
looking forward to that one. That's going to be great.
James Gunn's Peacemaker, excuse me. How dare you?
Yeah.
Well, you know what I'm looking forward to is another super chat from Scotty Dub for $19.99 or $20. Nope. I belatedly realized that I effed up and said Shane when I meant Brian.
Thought that was the case.
I only pray that my fellow member of the tribe will forgive me eventually. Dutch, we feel old because we are old.
Yeah.
Joseph Campbell.
But then I'm also hurt because then that takes it away from me. So while Brian now feels really good, I feel hurt. That
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
feel
your
great.
second
Himself
favorite,
today.
that I'm not your second favorite person, man.
Thanks, Scotty Dub.
There we go. But Scott, I guess Shane is Scotty Dub's fourth favorite person. Not quite sure.
Yeah, he just picks up the names.
Yeah. All right. And then we got Kalikioki for $5. As the Superman release date draws near, I'm seeing more recent uploaded videos about why Man of Steel is the perfect superhero film or why it's perfect.
We got to keep that train rolling, man. But yeah, I haven't seen any of those, but I'm not really looking.
It's kind of amazing that there is a group of people that are actively working to try to make this opening weekend for Superman be terrible, to try to gain some kind of gotcha points to defend Zack Snyder, who is a garbage human being.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's so weird to me.
So we need this movie to make more money than Man of Steel. Is that the goal?
Like, as someone who's critical of DC, who doesn't really want to see it, it's like that just makes me want to pay more money to see the movie just because I hate Snyder fans more than anything else.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I want the movie to succeed because I love the character, like James Gunn. But now there's like an extra layer of I really want it to burn real bad.
Did you guys see what they put
I want to see
Reddit
Twitter burning down in real time.
And now they're trying to claim that it was somebody else who did it, but we all know the truth. Where they're like, this is how you stop Superman from becoming a hit is by posting spoilers, going in and reserving seats for 6 minutes or whatever it is that they'll hold on to them and then go back out and do it again so people can't get seats and all this shit. And it's just like, God, you guys are pathetic, and all this is going to do is backfire in your face.
You know, if they really want this movie to make a lot of money, James Gunn needs to go hire the same bot farms that Snyder used to promote his movie. So,
I need to give Gavin Blackburn a shout out here. Hack Snyder, not Zack Snyder. There we go. Got the bot farm working again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, also all these videos that say Man of Steel is like a perfect movie or whatever, that's just clickbait because everyone knows that movie's garbage.
I like Man of Steel. I don't agree.
We know
you can like
we know
it.
that you love Zack Snyder. Okay,
no, I like that movie. I do.
Have you ever seen Robot Chicken's bit about Jonathan Kent getting killed in that movie? It was really fucking funny. But we got Mexican Iron Man member for 28 months member chat. OMG, how much do I have to super chat to get one live stream without Zack Snyder crap talking? DC formula is Zack Snyder greater than Tarantino. LOL.
Well, Mikey, here's the problem: is the Zack Snyder bots won't shut the fuck up and just go away. See, this is the thing I was talking about.
Yeah, that I saw that same one.
Yeah, fight for Snyderverse by posting spoilers, leaving bad review sites. We know for sure Gunn bots will post fake positive reviews, so we must let people know the truth.
Where is this? I haven't seen this.
The
craziest thing is it's like you're defending like
tickets,
it's like people defending like a burned down house. Like there's just no reason to be there. It's already done. The demolishing has been done. It's over.
Brian, speaking of defending a burned down house, James Gunn came out and basically called Hollywood to task by saying that the movie industry is dying because it's not because people are tired of watching movies. It's because Hollywood keeps making movies without finished scripts, and therefore the movies all end up sucking. And
that's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah. And there's also this really interesting kind of profile on Rolling Stone where they sat down and basically interviewed James Gunn. Like I said, all the marketing I've been seeing for this movie is all about James Gunn. But I feel like he makes a really good point here, which is basically that like his strategy as the head of DC is that we're not moving forward unless we have a locked in good script. And that's like his whole thing. And he says that the problem, especially when it comes to Marvel, is that Disney forced them to up their output, and they didn't care if there were no scripts done. They were just trying to get stuff out to feed the streaming service.
That's
well, Brian, you obviously have a lot to say about this. So what's your take on basically James Gunn putting Hollywood on blast about not using completed scripts, not having their stories figured out before they go into production?
Yeah, the most famous thing I remember when I first learned of the script not being done issue was the Last Jedi. How what's the guy's name made it? I'm always forgetting his name.
Ryan Johnson.
Yeah, Ryan Johnson. Ryan Johnson was working on the movie before they had finished the first movie. He didn't even know the ending of the first movie when he was working on the second movie. That's insane. How do you write and direct and create anything that has like a chronological order to it without knowing the ending of the first chapter? How can you write the second chapter without knowing the ending of the first chapter? Makes no sense. And then on Marvel, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I like that show a lot. The first season's rough, but but they found their legs. Well, they didn't find their legs until after they disconnected from Marvel, because they were constantly hamstrung and just tied to this machine that wouldn't give them information. They didn't know where they had to take their next, their season or their episodes, and they were writing around not having information. They were writing episodes to direct that were going to come out after Infinity War, but after Infinity War, but they had to direct them and produce them before Infinity War was done. So they were literally like in the same department. Like we're working at Disney too, and they had to guess what's the best guess for how this thing ends or how this movie goes. And it's because it wasn't written yet. And it showed the quality of I think it's not Joss Whedon, but his brother Jed Whedon or whatever. His ability to actually make a good TV show flourished when he was no longer tied to that ridiculously inefficient machine that is Marvel. So the thing about Hollywood not finishing scripts and not being efficient and trying to pack in like 3 movies into one. You know what? Sorry to go back to Superman, but the Salkinds did that exact same thing with 3 and 4 Musketeers, and with Superman 1 and 2. Well, look at the quality of Superman as it progressed after that first movie. It was not great because everything was rushed, stories weren't finished, and they were just trying to somehow save $1, but also push out as much content as possible. And now it's that exact same thing, but with streaming, it's like 15 times worse.
Well, Dutch, I wanted to ask you. So, James Gunn proudly said that no DC movie is ever going to go into production unless they have a script that he's happy with. But he also, in the same interview, said that his focus going forward after Superman is going to be Batman and Wonder Woman. Do you think that he's going to do a good job with those 2 properties?
Well, as long as he develops a good script for him first, sure. I mean, why wouldn't he? Everybody knows that DC needs to build around their big 3, right? Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. And if he develops good scripts and makes those movies, then they'll be fine. I mean, it's a smart move.
Well, interestingly enough, he came out and said that he's not actually writing those movies, but he is working with writers for those movies. Do you think that they'd still be good even if James Gunn isn't writing them?
Well, he has to prove everything, right? He'll make sure that they stay in line and with his vision. I'm sure he's just not going to the people and going, hey, just make up some story and then see if I like it or not. Or maybe he is. I don't know. I don't know how the business works, dude. I'm just some fat dude in the room talking to 5 nerds. So, I don't really pay that much attention to all this stuff like you guys do. So
4 nerds, by the way.
4 nerds.
4 nerds.
Yeah. And one missing one.
You are the 5th nerd.
So, yeah.
Well, but Matt, what do you think about this idea that Hollywood is rushing things too often without having a completed story?
Well, of course they are. Everybody knows this. They've been doing it for years. Like Brian said, I mean, look at the Star Wars stuff, like Brian just said. How can you go into a trilogy with 1 script? With no outline and competing directors? It's nonsense. It's absolutely nonsense. So yeah,
I wonder why it failed. What do you mean you wonder?
I mean, James Gunn has to keep an ironclad grip on the direction of these movies, and him not going forward until he has a completed script for each one. That should be movie making 101, right? I mean, you guys know more about the business than I do, but even I wouldn't go out there and make a movie without having a fully developed and finished script. First,
not.
That seems like the very first thing you need to do.
That's like the most important thing.
First thing. It's crazy. So I don't know. So it's
you would think.
An idea for like a 20 movie long thing, but I only got 1 script for the first movie. So I don't know how we're going to get to number 20, but we're going to go make this.
But you need to start shooting number 7 right away. I'm like, what?
Start shooting the 12th movie. To be released in 2037. It's just
we need a trailer stat.
It's the silliest thing. It's dumb.
Well, Tom, one of the interesting things about the Rolling Stone article was when they started talking about Matt Reeves' Batman. Mm-hmm. And in there, basically, James Gunn said, the rumors that it's been canceled are untrue. It's still going forward.
I think those are directed at me.
And he basically said that Matt Reeves likes to take his time. And so like he's in full support of Matt Reeves taking his time to make the second Batman movie, even though it is now competing with his version of Batman, which is Batman Brave and Bold, which he admittedly hasn't figured out yet. So what's your take on all this stuff? Because I know that you're pretty up to date on everything that's going on in the Reeves Batman universe.
Well, not just that, but I mean, yeah, like from last I heard, it was kind of like they still hadn't got a script. The only reason they had started asking for it again was because the Penguin actually did well. Because at that point, I think they were more than willing to just kind of let it slide. But the way Gunn answered the question is really kind of funky. I don't know how to kind of address it in a sense other than, okay, why are you upset that certain fans want it? And I get it why you're upset that certain people like me are putting this stuff out there, but I'm just telling what I'm hearing, right? Like, and am I wrong that the script has not been turned in yet? Here we are yet again, where he's supposedly by this next Monday, where he was just asked again about it in a more recent interview. Monday is the day it's supposed to come and be put on his desk for Matt Reeves. So we'll see. But that doesn't even mean the movie's still going to get made, right? Because like we were just talking about here is this whole idea of that, and even James Gunn talks about a project that he didn't specify what it was, that they just killed even though the script was done and they were getting ready to go into production, but he wasn't happy with what the script was. Some people have thought it may be Sergeant Rock, but there's been some talk about that still being reworked. Otherwise, people have no idea what this project was.
I think it was Swamp Thing, personally.
It could have been Swamp Thing. That's another one that people are talking about, too. But again, here's the thing about this interview that I found very interesting, besides the whole, Batman, will it, won't it happen thing, is this James threw Disney under the bus big time in this interview. And I think he basically solidified that he will never be coming back there because he mentioned Esposito and he said some crap that I'm sure they don't want being out there in the public, right? I'm sure it was a very uncomfortable week this last week over at MCU between some of the upper people there, between Feige, Iger, and Esposito, because right now he's basically putting it all out there saying these guys don't know what they're doing, right? He's like, they're going into this without any finished scripts. They don't have anything preliminary planned. And the Marvel Universe has gone off the rails since James Gunn has left. And I think that the reasons are what he said is because they didn't have this thing set up and planned. As we learned last year or whatever, he was the reason they had any sort of plan between the Avengers and Guardian and Endgame, because he needed to know where his Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy was going to go, with specifically the Infinity Stones and Thanos.
Yeah, he invented the Infinity Stones.
Yeah, so he created that. He outlined that entire fucking thing. He even supposedly directed all the scenes in Endgame with the event in the Avengers Endgame and Infinity Saga completely. Anything that had to do with Guardians of the Galaxy, he supposedly directed. Now, he did not direct the Guardians of the Galaxy in the Thor film, and it shows. There's a big difference in how they come off. Mm-hmm. And in fact, they tried forcing Thor into his movie. We just found this out. I just read this today. He said that Disney tried forcing Thor into his movie, and he said no. So all that shit that happened in Thor was probably supposed to happen in his movie, and he just wasn't going to do that. But that being said, I respect that he's finally saying this, because he's kind of saying the unsaid thing in Hollywood. And look, there's been movies in the past that have gone into production without a finished script. That's nothing new in Hollywood. But we're talking about big, huge, tentpole comic book films where you should have some sort of planned out. Like Brian brought up the Star Wars trilogy, same thing. Like, you knew you were going in making 3 movies, right? Why didn't you have a plan? I don't give a shit. Like, it makes no sense whatsoever. Even if the plan changes and deviates a little bit here and there and you go with the flow, doesn't matter. You still kind of have a plan to kind of know what your idea is. We were talking about Jaws. Even Jaws started production without a finished script. But you know what Jaws had was a book. So they kind of knew the idea where it was going.
They had a book. Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy told Rian Johnson, hey, you know what? Do whatever you feel is good. Well, I didn't know what the story is. Whatever you want it to be. No, that's not how it works, Kathleen. I'm sorry. There's a movie that's going to come out before my movie. I need to know what's in it, dude.
Well, guys, we made a promise to have Mr. Reagan show
up. Did Odin even get to react to
this?
I was going to say.
Well, we'll get to Odin in a second.
Sorry.
but I want to introduce our special guest who finally decided to show up, Mr. Reagan.
Oh, he made it.
He
I made it.
Yes, he's
Crappy
done with all
Chinese internet.
of his Asian hookers and all that good stuff.
For a minute there, I thought it was gonna be like AI Mr. Reagan.
Now I should do that actually. It'd make it easier for me.
Yeah, Mr. Reagan, our chat was saying that you were too busy with your hot Asian hookers to show up for our live stream, but apparently you finished. So now
They're called lady boys, gentlemen.
Yes, lady boys.
Wow.
Get it right.
No, I'm currently in Oregon visiting my family, and they have honestly they have like this amazing, I don't know, fiber optic internet. It never goes down ever, but the entire wall in the garage where that modem happened to be embedded, the power went down on the whole wall. I had to get an extension cord, plug it into another wall, put it into that modem. It took like 45 minutes to figure out the whole thing, but I'm here. I made it.
well, we were saying that the People's Republic of China was trying to keep you off the air to prevent you from...
I think God himself is trying to stop me from being on Matt Kadish's live stream. I don't know, just absolutely terrible morning for live stream. Bizarre. Sorry about that, gentlemen.
It's okay, but so we were just talking about how James Gunn has put Hollywood on blast for making movies without finished scripts. And Mr. Reagan, I know that you're a writer yourself and that you have a background in the entertainment industry. What's your take on Hollywood going into full-fledged $100 million production without having a script completed?
Well, I think you guys really, everybody here knows the answer to that, which is that it is insane. Actually, I would say, it's almost inconceivable considering that they are professional fucking writers. Like that's their whole, you know what I mean? Like they're professional producers. This is like what they do for a job, and they haven't figured out yet that, we should probably write the script first. Actually, I've said for many years, because when I was a kid, when I was about 13 years old, I had trouble writing endings to stories. I would write novels when I was 12 years old. I tried to write my first novel. I never finished it. You know why? Because I didn't really know how to end a story, right? I got an assignment in class, write a short story. I didn't know how to end a story. And then I started watching this show called The Twilight Zone. You may have heard of it. And I thought, you know what? These short stories, these Twilight Zone episodes, they have such magnificent endings, either a twist or something very just compelling or, some kind of compelling ending. And I thought to myself, if I could write endings like this, I would be a better writer than every single writer in Hollywood today. And that was 1993, guys. So even back then, when they actually were able to write effectively, I still felt that the endings to films weren't as satisfying as they could be. Today, they're not even starting the production with a finished script. The worst offender, in my opinion, is J.J. Abrams and his whole crew. Does anyone remember the ending to any J.J. Abrams story ever? The only one remember is Lost because it was so terrible. Yeah. Like J.J. Abrams, J.J. Abrams and his crew, they do not know how to finish stories. They just start writing and they go, we'll figure something out.
Yeah, all the endings are, okay, they found what they were looking for. Eventually,
yeah, kind of, and also, or blah blah blah. We don't know, whatever. That's
Palpatine returns somehow.
Yeah, and there was another show called Game of Thrones, if you recall. For the fans who love that show, it's considered one of the worst endings in the history of television, and this is because, for whatever reason, Hollywood has just abandoned this aspect of storytelling. I don't know why they haven't figured out that it's a bad move, but yeah, it's not working for them clearly.
Why would they have made Game of Thrones? I just dawned on me without him finishing the book series. We're gonna.
Okay. I mean, I don't blame them for that because what did he do? He was supposed to be done with them, and then it took.
He's never gonna finish those books, you guys. I'm just throwing. I know if there's fans out there, Game of Thrones, that dude is never finishing those books because the second he does, he stops being the celebrity. People have built up these books so high that. No matter what you do, generally people are going to be disappointed and your stardom is going to drop. He is never going to finish those books.
Yeah, and when that series started, the 5th book had just come out. And so I think that there was a reasonable expectation that by the time they got into year 6, he'd have the series done. But obviously it didn't happen.
You know what I think, guys, actually? I think that it's really difficult to write endings. Like, I made myself an expert in writing endings because I realized how critical that was. But I actually don't think most writers ever make that realization. It's sort of like trying to figure out if you have a hero-villain situation, the villain is actually sometimes the more important character than the hero. Like you have to, because they're the one pushing the action. And a lot of writers never figure that out. I think in the same way, for whatever reason, even professional writers never figure out actually the ending is super important. I should write that first so I have something to write to instead of just going, let's go over here, then let's go over here, then let's go over here. What happens next? What happens next? What happens next? And then you end up in a situation like a J.J. Abrams situation or Martin and his whole problem with the Game of Thrones series, where you don't ever really figure out how do I end this. You just never figure it out. You know?
I mean, there's
I got a trick.
there's two endings that you can always use. There's and they lived happily ever after.
Yeah.
Or he died.
Well, there's
He
more
died.
to it than that.
So
The obvious way to end every story is the end. See, that's the easiest way to do it.
Good job, Tom. Well, you know what, guys? Those are both endings. The question is, can you do that in a way that's satisfying for the audience? And I think
Right.
a lot of writers haven't really even tried to develop that skill.
Well, the other ending
Well-
is the
Rode off
twist,
into the
right? Which you
sunset.
brought up already, Mr. Reagan, was kind of like how Twilight Zone generally ended with some sort of twist, right? But that's a gimmick in some cases. Generally, it doesn't always necessarily lend
Well,
itself to the entire
Oh, that can be
story.
done poorly as well, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, it has to be satisfying. That's why I said the word satisfying. That's
I-
the critical word. There.
I want to throw this to Odin because Odin, you and I, we've had long discussions about how Hollywood does not know what it's doing, and the business model for Hollywood is just all over the place. And James Gunn seems to be calling out very specifically what's wrong with the business model, which is you have these out of control productions, you have like expensive reshoots, all that stuff can be completely kind of like sidelined by just having a completed script before you go into production. So what's your take on him putting Hollywood on blast?
It's hard to say because honestly, for me at least, he's been very much a mixed bag of movies. If he had had a bunch of bangers, just consistently over time, that'd be one thing. But as I always like to bring up, he's made one like really phenomenal, like big movie as far as like overall, like making a lot of money at the box office, etc. That was also a really good movie in Guardians of the Galaxy. I think I maybe mentioned this either last week or on another stream. I honestly feel like Hollywood has been chasing that standard for a long time now of like trying to recapture the magic that was Guardians and just not being able to do it. Because even the following two movies just weren't as good as that first one, like not even close to being as good as the first one in the list. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I offend you, Tom?
Yeah, I really like part 2.
Okay, you could like part 2. I just don't think it's nearly as good as the first one. It's kind of
Well, here's my thing. I understand what you're saying, like box office wise, but to me, James Gunn has yet to put out a miss, right? Like every one of his films.
Have you seen the cartoon?
The Suicide Squad was bad.
I
No,
liked
you're
the
wrong.
Suicide
I
Squad.
like that movie.
I liked it a lot, especially compared to the first one.
Yeah, way better than Suicide Squad.
It's like
I'm
comparing
between
crap
you
to
guys,
crap.
though.
They're both
No.
bad.
I didn't really like his Suicide Squad that much. It was definitely better than the other one.
That's not hard.
Yeah, it's not hard, but
I'll
did
concede
you
that,
guys
but-
see the cartoon that he's made more recently? The cartoon?
No, I have not seen the
Oh,
Creature,
Creature
Commandos and
Commandos.
all that business.
Yeah,
I like
Creature
that.
Commandos. That's not that good, I would say.
I
And
like
you know
it.
what?
'Cause it's super comic. It's like sweaty comic book stuff.
But let me just say real quick.
not a
I
generally appealing
say
thing.
that at my own peril because I have a very good friend, fan of my show, very good guy, and he's an artist for that cartoon. He actually did like the fight sequence in the kitchen and everything like that. I know this guy,
Yeah,
and so I
Ari's
hate
rad.
saying that I didn't really like the cartoon. I would love to say I love that cartoon. It just didn't do it for me. I don't know. Like, what do you guys like?
I haven't liked it, but I did love Peacemaker. But I want to hear I want to hear more about Odin's take on it.
Yeah.
So basically, until Superman actually comes out, and the other thing with Superman specifically is, and I know some have said that they don't think that there were any massive reshoots on the project, as had been reported by some. I think that still the budget of this movie is probably still going to be pretty large. I think that is something that we could still walk away from and say, yeah, they probably still overspent. Now again, if it is an investment to make the best movie possible, so that your future
Bingo.
franchise builds from there, okay, that can work. But we have to get there first, right? We have to actually have that result. And I know that there is this, again, attempt by Hollywood to try to make everything about being a $1 billion film. But when you start to have budgets that balloon to the amounts that they are, even if you are investing for the future, $1 billion is kind of the standard for a lot of these big budget films now, right? Because the closer you get to that $300 million mark, of spending. That's just on budgetary stuff. The marketing for this movie, I think, is going to be where the real story is, because even if the budget isn't as high as like the World of Reels and others have maybe reported on previously, the marketing budget by absolute certainty is going to be bigger than most other films.
Well, Odin, what was interesting about this a Rolling Stone interview was that Gunn basically flat out said, as long as Superman makes its budget back, it's going to be considered a success by the studio.
Right.
Which is
because
ridiculous.
it's an investment for a no, it's an investment for a franchise.
No. Because again, if by that statement he's saying, oh, if it only makes $250-ish million, no, that's not a success at all.
No. When I say their budget, I'm talking about the budget for the movie.
Marketing.
Like it makes so it makes okay, gotcha.
If it makes
so the
$500 million, they're
depends on what they mean
okay.
by it though. Because
the context of way he's answering it in the interview was he was going off of the question of everybody's going how like your movie's the end all be all of Warner Brothers. He's like, no, I don't know where people are getting that from. My problem is my little part of this universe, and if my movie has to make money, that's all that matters.
Yeah,
that's basically what he was saying, like in the context of the question
and it does.
The answer.
I mean, it really does. Like, and that's why, as I said, like it doesn't sound like they have a runaway budget like the MCU has had consistently, but it also still sounds like a high budget nonetheless. And DC films have had a struggle. I know that we can look to films like Aquaman, which made $1 billion, the only DCU film to do so, and look to the other films which made, several hundreds of millions of dollars. Because of their budgets, though, they still weren't the biggest moneymakers in the world, specifically in comparison to their counterparts in MCU and other films. So this film does have to be successful, but I think that I would concede that by successful, it has to make its money back. It has to make profit, because again, they are still investing quite a bit of money, and especially the marketing. Again, I feel like the marketing for this is a lot higher than what other films have
They
had.
do have a lot of co-marketing things with companies. There is like that number that I heard that was out there that was actually, and Mikey had talked about it on our show, and I kind of heard something similar. Like, I heard that Mikey was kind of on the right page of things, where the amount they report is how much they put in so they can get the tax incentives, the most for their tax incentives. So from what I heard, the actual budget of the movie was more in the line of the 225 at the most. And I actually heard it was under 200, because that was the whole goal, is that Zaslav said we want to make these cheaper and not this $250 million budget. But
whatever this movie makes, I'm not even sure it's going to be representative of James Gunn or how good the movie is or anything. I think Hollywood has lost so much faith from the viewing audience, from just the American audience. I think people we have such low expectations of films these days. We don't even want to go watch movies anymore. Like I like the whole Marvel disaster, the what they call it, the MCU, that whole crap. Like I was talking to my dad about this the other day. You know what? My mother watches almost exclusively British detective shows. My father watches these weird German movies on Netflix all the time now, a series and stuff. I'm sitting there watching Korean shit and stuff from Australia. Like, it's weird. Like, nobody in my family watches American films anymore, and we're consumers of that kind of media. We like TV shows. We like movies. We just don't really watch any American stuff anymore because Hollywood has gone so fucking shit that we can't even we're not even interested in watching that anymore. So even Superman, my dad didn't even know that movie was coming out, and it's like, I feel bad because I like Superman, I like DC. I wish they would do something better with these projects. I don't know, maybe James Gunn will turn it around. Maybe it will be, if it is such a high quality film that word of mouth makes it into a big hit, then he's going to save cinema maybe. But I don't know, it's tough. I don't know what's got to happen. I don't know what you guys think. Think it's
I think it's tough to say he'll save cinema, but
you know what is going to save cinema is super chats. We got Fluffy Panda for $2. I thought AEW versus WWE was crazy, but Snyder versus Gunn, yes, that could
it's a
be
one-sided
crazy.
Fight at the end of the day. That's what's sad.
Yeah.
And just to what Mr. Reagan said, my dad did text me for the first time yesterday about Superman.
Okay, so he knows about it. Yeah,
it is starting to make the mainstream a little bit. So
well, what else is mainstream?
Superman?
What else is mainstream is Scotty Dub for $20. Okay, let's be clear. Number 1, Mr. Kadish, get it right. Number 2, Odin. Number 3, Brian. Number 4, Gary the Nerdrotic, because his shadow is everywhere. Number 5, Tom, because Midnight's Edge led me to the Salty Nerds. And Dutch, you're really great too, my man.
Yeah, Dutch at the bottom of the
Oh
barrel.
wait,
Doesn't
I
even get a
led you
number.
here, but you
Doesn't get
like
a
him
number.
more.
Damn, bro. Well, I'm just happy I got third.
I didn't
I'm
even
a
make the
gateway
list,
drug.
you guys.
Gary's not even on the show, and he got
I'm a
fourth.
lousy gateway drug.
Gary's over.
Oh, no.
Gary's on the list.
Oh,
I'm
Dutch
not.
left. Look at Dutch
Dutch.
left.
Dutch's
is over
feelings got
Vince.
hurt. Yeah.
Oh,
Kalikioki for $2. At
Poor
Tom
Dutch.
Panel. Who else is above Feige
Where's Dutch?
aside of Iger? He'll be back. Don't worry.
The studio.
Louis Esposito and
The studios are really in charge over there. Feige, I think, has less power than people think he has.
well, there's Esposito was the one I was talking about. Like he's one of the big producers over there, and that's who James Gunn named in the interview, because he even flat out said he shouldn't be saying this, which, like I said, was probably a very awkward Monday morning at Marvel Studios after that interview came out, because there was a lot said in that interview that he painted Marvel in a really bad light. If you really read it sounds pretty bad, because he's basically saying they're doing this shit half cocked. They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, it was
basically.
brutal.
Yeah.
Well, you know who isn't half cocked is Darth Maul's lower half for €5. They had a plan, but that would have meant to honor George's vision. They could have taken EU books, but that would have meant to honor the fans. And he's speaking specifically about Lucasfilm and Star Wars. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
very, very.
I don't even know if
accurate.
George knew what his vision was, though, by like the prequels. I think he forgot.
I don't think
his
George
vision.
really cared. But
Yeah.
like,
Is anyone
I mean,
here is anyone here a prequels guy?
Nope.
Okay, so we're all
Get
on
out
the same. There's only 3 Star Wars movies. Then is that what we're saying?
Well, here's the thing. Okay,
Literally hate the
I will
prequels.
acknowledge
Hard.
the prequels' existence because they're so bad they're funny, and I have so much fun watching them because entertainment
Right.
value is so high for those
But-
movies.
but-
it's
you know,
like Spaceballs. It's like a parody.
After seasons 1 and 2 of Andor, Rogue One is definitely in the.
Oh my
No.
god, with the
in
end.
the
No,
Stop
I'm
trying to
you
make
guys
Andor
do
a
Rogue
thing.
One Andor shit already.
Andor.
Get over it.
Here we go. with
Rogue One
Andor
was a
again.
horrible
stuff.
movie.
Good stuff. All right, guys.
We'll have to see.
No.
Drew
I don't know,
D for
I like Rogue
$5.
One.
Drew D for $5. But J.J. Abrams uses really cool lens flares.
I like
You
the
paid
lens flares.
$5
I
to
will
say
say, I
that,
do like the
Drew?
lens flares.
I mean, he does
Really?
though. I mean, he does.
I like the lens flares. I will say,
Yeah.
Lens flares are
even though
cool
Drew's
sometimes.
joking, I like them.
You know what else I like is Fluffy Panda for $5. You guys are mean. Hollywood are just huge gamers. They see them release incomplete games and think to themselves, we can do that too.
He can
A
do it.
person of interest
True.
thumbs up.
Fluffy Panda
DLC.
needs to come on the show. He's got some good takes.
Yeah,
Well, he's
DLC
not
time.
wrong. You know
Well,
what's funny is I can't even believe that Alien was up for an Oscar for special effects when they literally did a patch for that movie for the effect of the what's his robot name from the first movie? Ash.
Bishop.
Oh,
Ash? Rook.
Yeah, that's
That's
what it was.
one of
Remember?
them.
Wait, that's
Yeah, whatever
I
it
think
was.
Oh, sorry.
just-
From the original was Bishop, and then in this film it
Bishop.
was
Yeah,
Rook.
I said Bishop.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm sorry, but guys, that moment where Bishop's head's cut off with
So
all the
funny.
no, but with all that the white cabling, all that, I don't even know how they did that in the 70s. That was
That was great.
amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing
Alien was
practical effects.
One of the greatest films of all time.
It was a hole
Yeah.
in the table, Brian.
Well,
That's
guys,
it.
I mean, I get it, but it was so well done. It was
Guys.
like nowadays that would have been like $40 million with the CGI to cut his head
Yeah.
off. Like, oh,
Yeah.
son of a bitch.
So you just cut a hole.
I could do it for
Edit
$6.
through.
I
This
was
is
right.
like
See, it's
Goose and
Ash,
Potato.
not Bishop. Bishop was in Aliens. He's Lance Hendrickson. Ash was in the first
Oh, sorry.
All right,
telling
guys.
Wait, it's one of
Well,
those guys.
now that we have Mr. Reagan on, Mr. Reagan contacted me yesterday very specifically about something he wanted to talk about, which
Oh,
is,
I didn't say. I just gave you an option. I don't want to talk about this, bitch.
Well, you wanted to talk about
Damn.
the race swapping going on in
That's true.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
And it was in relation to this this news story that it's a big rumor, but basically Aaron Pierre, who's actually in James Gunn's Lanterns show,
Yeah. And Rebel
And-
Ridge.
Rebel Ridge, which he was really really
It's
good
pretty
in.
good, yeah.
Basically, the rumor has shifted from Idris Elba being the new James Bond to Aaron Pierre being the new James Bond. But this is also kind of in the same category as the black female Tony Stark with Ironheart that is going to be coming out this week. And so, Mr. Reagan, I wanted to get your take on why do you think Hollywood is still insisting on, race swapping well-known characters?
Yeah, it's weird, right? It's like, take a hint, guys. Nobody likes this. Like, nobody likes it. Even black people are like, this is kind of annoying, actually. Maybe let's bring. Here's the thing: if they want to revitalize any franchise, like literally any franchise, but I would say James Bond in particular. Let's look at James Bond in particular. Why are you going to make him black? It didn't work for Doctor Who. It's not working for Iron Man. They've done this a million times with a million characters. Everyone hates it.
Bro, black was the least of Doctor Who's problems, dude. It's the fact that he was a flaming homosexual.
Homosexual is probably even, they tried the woman thing, that didn't work.
Flamboyant homosexual.
They tried the black gay man. None of this is working. Like, nobody likes it.
Yeah,
and Hollywood's like, but it's got to work, though. We've got to make this work. And look, if you want to make money on these films, it's actually really, really simple. Like, bring me in, guys. I will help you. This is what you do for James Bond, right? You go literally the opposite of what Hollywood does. So Hollywood has decided over the last 10 years or whatever, we're going to go more and more woke. So we're going to race swap white characters, make them black. We're going to make trans characters, more inclusive characters. There's this great meme on X that was floating around for a while, or it was a still image of James Bond from the 90s. Who's James Bond from the 90s? Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
Pierce Brosnan on a motorcycle with like a Chinese chick straddling him, shooting people or whatever. And it looked totally badass. Great image, great still from that movie. And then it shows an image from the newer movies with what's his name? Somebody help me. Daniel Craig. And he's getting on the back of a moped with a black moneypenny driving it. He's like riding on the back of this, it's like the most woke, feminized Bond bullshit you've ever seen. And
it's like rubbing her feet.
Why are you so toxic?
It was so I am. It's so illustrative of just like the downfall of cinema and James Bond and masculinity. And this is what I say: if you want to revitalize a franchise like that, do this. Go literally the opposite. Make James Bond, it might be going too far to make James Bond an open Republican or Trump supporter. That might be going too far. But like, just make him a man from like the 1960s type era, a man at a time, smoking cigarettes, wearing a fedora, being a badass, just like being a man. Make him a man. Make him do masculine things. Make him take charge. Make the women fall in love with him in the way that they used to in the old movies. Don't put him on the back of the Vespa while the black moneypenny is driving it or whatever. Yeah, that's the image. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's humiliating. I'm embarrassed because you know what? When I was a kid, you know how they say like, you need heroes that the audience can relate to. And I used to kind of relate to James Bond and like Superman, I think because of my hair. Right, because I had kind of similar hair to these characters, so I identify with James Bond a little bit, and I look at that as like, part of my who I am, because it's part of the culture, it's part of what we loved growing up, and they're kind of like stripping that from us. It's what a lot of people call cultural vandalism. Just makes me sick. Like, you guys, this is not going to be a successful transition to try to wokeify.
I mean, it's going to be a transition, but male to female.
Exactly. But if they do want to be successful in Hollywood, literally go the other way. Go the opposite way. All the movies and TV shows that seem to be more conservative oriented, like Reacher and all this crap, even though the actor is a woke piece of shit. Everything that tries to go, and like Maverick, these movies, everything that tries to go a little bit more conservative, they're successful films. They're doing well. It's like, take a hint. Don't make James Bond more lefty. Make James Bond more conservative, and you will get the audience. It's really kind of like basic math. It's like 2 + 2, I think.
Yeah, I've always wondered why they didn't just make like 006 and like have him be a black actor or something like that.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Lynch was almost 007 at the end of the movie again. Remember, because they had all those reshoots and shit.
Well, Tom, I want to ask you. So, why do you think Hollywood just insists on doing these unpopular things that audiences have soundly rejected?
Well, first of all, as far as this goes, I think this is either A, some old rumor that's being rehashed, or B, it's just floating out there to see what people say, because they don't even have a director yet. right? Like that's the new rumor is the people that they're looking at for a director. So I don't.
Yeah,
Although
it could be trolling. Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Yeah,
or,
I
like,
don't think the guy's gonna be.
because
James
to
Bond.
me, it's like, why would you get rid of Barbara Broccoli and Sarnoff if this is what you're going to do anyway? Because this is a them kind of move. And the other rumors I've been hearing have been more along the lines of like Aaron Taylor Johnson and Henry Cavill and such. So like, I think they're going to go more with a more traditional
God.
Bond, like we were talking earlier with
Henry Cavill
know,
would be the perfect choice.
like with Highlander and such. Like I think Amazon has realized that they've lost a lot of the male demographic and they need to get them back. And a good way of doing it is some of these guy movies, like with Jason Statham and stuff like that. And frankly, I think that their incessant need to do this it's old. That's why I'm not sure I buy it. I mean,
It's boring. Yeah, it's boring.
well, and I think a lot of them have learned that this is not going to work anymore, right? Sure, a lot of them are. There's still some people that are still whining about it, but at the end of the day, I think most of the people in the studios have come to the conclusion that this race swapping thing is just not going to work, especially with the main character. It's a different situation when you're doing a few side characters here and there, characters to where the race factor doesn't really matter. With
but
James
Tom,
Bond,
they
it
are
does.
doing it with the Riri Williams thing, right? With
Right. Well, that's
Iron
Disney,
Man
and they
thing.
filmed that 6 years ago too.
And they're doing it with Doctor Who again, right? They brought in that chick who used to be like the sidekick.
Billy
They're
Piper.
still doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, but see,
Well,
you also brought up two of the most wokest like islands of this whole
franchises,
thing.
yeah, my bad,
like
bad,
that they're
yeah.
left. But you're not wrong. You're not wrong,
Yeah.
right? But like, yeah.
Well,
Sorry, bud.
Brian, I want to throw this to you because this rumor about this actor, Aaron Pierre, came from Daniel RPK, who is well known
Oh
to be
my
quite
god!
the scooper and an entirely credible news source. What's your take on Daniel RPK?
I know you're trying to fucking trigger me right now because Daniel RBK is a con artist. He's a straight up
Right.
con artist. He's wrong at least 90% of the time. He has a Patreon. People actually, I don't know how this fucking
Does
guy
he live in the
this.
same building as Grace Randolph
The-
and Mike Zero? That's
Dude, yeah, this con artist has a Patreon with a ton of members where he drops scoops ahead of time. And
And they're always wrong.
like 2 years ago, Shane and I signed up to his Patreon to see what was in there. And like it's a text pad basically with one-line things. This character might be back with a third movie. And you're like, are you kidding me? This is what I'm paying for? What the hell? No proof, just like random statements. This guy throws everything at the wall, and the 2 or 3 times out of the 50 times he's wrong, he happens to be right, are the 2 or 3 times people remember because they're big moments. He just throws everything at the wall, and whatever sticks, he markets himself off that. The guy is continually wrong. He's also part of the GFR crew, which are continually wrong. That website is just nothing but clickbait and old news. But somehow, because of boomers on Facebook that don't know better, and they just
Right.
see like a picture of Henry Cavill, an AI picture of Henry Cavill, wearing a James Bond tuxedo, they're like, "Oh, he's gonna be doing." That's where they're making their money.
I blame Matt Kadish for having brought this article to our attention. Now I'm like, okay. I mean, when I read it, I did think, okay, this could be trolling for sure, but I didn't have this background that Brian's got. Now I'm, Matt, what are we doing here?
Daniel RBK is totally full of shit. And while that actor is great, he's an unknown. You're gonna put the unknown in charge of James Bond. Like I understood when they said,
Well, that
"Oh,
does happen
maybe
sometimes.
Idris Elba." Yeah, I mean it does, but not. I don't see it happening here. When they go, "Oh, well, maybe Idris Elba." Well, yeah, he's black, but at least Idris Elba
he's a star.
fits the mold. He's a star. He's a pull. Like they've been talking about him for years. This random dude from Rebel Ridge in an upcoming Lanterns show where he is not even the main character. He's like this second billing. It's not going to happen.
Well, unfortunately, Brian, your arch nemesis's article is now being discussed on this very prestigious podcast. And again, I blame Matt for this.
The guy is so full of shit.
Well, I do like Aaron Pierre, but Dutch.
You know I know he's full of shit? Real quick. You know I know? Because he quoted one of my videos one time. He quoted one of my videos, which was a theory when Amazon was buying MGM about the timeline for a new Stargate. He quoted my video as
Brian-
a source
Brian,
for
why are
when it
you-
would happen. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's-
what are you talking about? I pulled that out of my ass.
Brian,
That's not
you-
nothing about zero.
You need to not put videos out that are clickbait theory videos. So, but you literally
If
just
it's a
said,
theory, it's a theory, dude.
if
I'm
it's
not
theory,
saying
it's
news.
bullshit. It's bullshit. If it's a theory,
This is my
No,
this
but
is
if
my
he's presenting
educated
it as
theory.
speculation, if he's presenting it as speculation, I think that's legit.
100%.
Either
Did he
sounds
present it that way? Did you
Well,
present it that way?
Yes, it's a theory.
Okay. All right.
So Dutch, getting away from Daniel RPK and moving to an even more credible source called Puck News. There are supposedly
Oh,
five directors in the play to take over the Bond franchise,
Yes.
and one of them is Denis Villeneuve. The director
Denis
of
Villeneuve?
Dune.
But Dune guy, right?
Yeah, he's the Dune guy, and then there's the Shaun of the Dead Hot Fuzz guy, Edgar Wright, who's
Okay.
also in the running.
All right.
Paul King, who is the guy behind the Paddington and Wonka films,
Oh my god.
and
I haven't seen those.
the Edward Berger, who is the guy behind the movie Conclave and All Quiet on the Western Front. But the big one is Nolan. No, not Christopher Nolan, but Jonathan Nolan, the lesser known brother who did Westworld and Fallout and stuff like that.
I
so
like
of-
Westworld.
Of those five directors, who would you like to see
Westworld
take over
sucked
Bond?
ass.
last
Probably the fourth one, the one who did All's Quiet on the Western Front, just because, those are good movies. It's a pretty movie. So I don't know, man. I mean, look, I don't really care who directs it. I just want the movie to be good, and that's the bottom line. Let the guy have James Gunn make it, direct the movies. Let's do that, right?
He can just do every movie in
you
Hollywood.
can just do every movie ever.
Yeah, just have him do
that's
everything.
Right. I don't care if the script writer for WWE Raw writes the next James Bond movie and directs it. I just want it to be good. I just want it to be good. So
Okay, why does Tom keep holding up?
He's got some cool
DVD.
Yeah.
I'm talking to Mikey in the chat. Don't mind me.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know, Matt. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure all those guys would be do a serviceable job. It depends on the script and what they have to work with. So
Well, Odin, ever since the 2024 election, we've had a cultural shift happen that kind of took Hollywood by a blind side, where basically audiences and the population of America in general just roundly stood up and said, hey, we don't like DEI. We don't want it anymore. And yet all these older DEI properties keep coming out, like Ironheart and stuff like that with Disney. The infamous MCU shift away from like male-oriented superheroes to female-oriented superheroes, all of which have failed on the Disney platform, like Echo, and they're even talking about bringing back Jessica Jones now and stuff like that. What do you think it's going to take to get Hollywood to pivot to actually servicing their audience as opposed to trying to dictate to them what they need to be watching and supporting?
You got to get the activist out. That's the only way, because it's been taken over by activists, and as long as they are still in charge, they're going to continue to push their activism no matter how much money it loses. So that is really the only way that they could possibly have any hope to do anything good. As far as that list of directors, again, I don't take that rumor with any seriousness whatsoever. I think that a serious Denis Villeneuve film could obviously be a very good thing, but it's not necessarily going to be amazing, because I don't think the Dune films were as good as they could have been.
No, it's gonna have a drugged out Quaalude face Timothy Chalamet as James Bond.
Actually, Timothy Chalamet was the best part of that movie. But anyway,
can we have is Zendaya going to be Moneypenny? That's
Zendaya will be Moneypenny. He'll be in the back of the moped.
Where's the director rumor coming from? Daniel RPK as well, or
Yeah, probably.
No, Puck News.
Puck? That's a little bit more.
Puck's Puck's not bad.
See, and this is what I was saying. I actually believe they're looking for directors, and you'd get a director before you'd get a star, because the director gets a say on who the star is, right? So that I believe more than the other rumor.
Well, guys, you know what else you should believe is basically you should believe that Marvel is going to be making four movies in 2028. And essentially, so like Marvel has famously pulled back on their production to 2 movies a year for 2026 and 2027. But for 2028, they're upping it to 4 movies.
Oh my god.
And and so it's all culminating with Avengers Secret Wars in December of 2028. But up until that point, they've got 3 other movies slated to go out. And you can see it here in Variety, where they kind of talk about this. But it is kind of interesting because essentially they're leading up into like a new phase. So like the whole Secret Wars thing is going to end phase 6, and then they're going to go into phase 7, which is going to be X-Men like oriented.
So all these bad movies has just been a bad phase. Oh, thank God.
Yes.
Have you guys been actually like following the story arcs of the Marvel movies that have been happening in the last like?
Nope,
Not really.
Haven't seen
Infinity
one.
War.
Not since they made shit homework. No.
Nope.
Yeah, so basically the current phase is all about the multiverse, and that's going to be wrapped up with Secret War, apparently, and then they're going to go into the mutant arc, which is X-Men and stuff like that.
Is there a fandom anymore even?
Yeah, apparently. I mean, like there's still a fandom for Star Wars, and that thing's been run into the ground too. So, yeah, like a lot of these things are happening on the Disney front. And I just wanted to get the panel's reaction to the idea that in about 2 more years, 3 more years, they're going to be doubling their output.
Didn't James Gunn just give him some shit for doing that?
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. But it seems like they've toned it down, right? Because 3 movies in a year isn't actually that much for Marvel. Or
Well,
4 now.
it's 2 movies going forward, but in 2028, it's going to be 4.
Yeah, that seems very minimal. It looks like nobody cares or wants to talk about this. So I'm going to talk about the directors for James Bond again, because you skipped me on that one. And I listen, and this is actually relevant to these Marvel movies as well, to be honest. I actually kind of like the Edgar Wright potential director thing, which nobody mentioned, and I think people just
That can be good.
that. I'll tell you why I love it. Did you guys what do you guys think is the best Mission Impossible movie aside from the first one? Anybody got a favorite?
Ghost Protocol.
Ghost Protocol.
The Bourne
Odin,
Legacy.
Odin, have I told you I love you lately?
The one with the doves.
The one with the
I agree with Odin.
The one where it runs really fast.
No, yes, that's what everyone else was. Listen, Odin's right. It's Ghost Protocol by a mile. And do you guys remember who directed Ghost Protocol?
I'm gonna guess Edgar Wright.
No, it was
Simon Pegg.
No, it was Bird.
Yeah.
What's his
It was
name?
Bird,
The Incredibles
yes.
guy.
It was Bird, and he did The Incredibles. Now, what was interesting about The Incredibles was that it was essentially like a comedy superhero movie, right? And that movie was a mega hit. That was like a huge, huge movie, right? And they made Ghost Protocol. Ghost Protocol, watch that movie again if you haven't seen it in a while. It is a spectacular film. The thing that has been missing, I think, from the Bond films for a long time is that perfect mix of like action, adventure, and comedy, right? They started
Masculinity.
and masculinity, that's true as well.
And hot checks.
But they started taking themselves so goddamn seriously, right? Everything was this like, like way too important. They stopped even using like the Bond music. It's like, why'd you stop using the Bond music?
Yeah, blame Nolan's Batman movies, dude.
Well, I was going to say, I didn't really watch the Craig films, but my impression I got from that was like Daniel Craig's Bond was almost like, oh, woe is me, I have to be James Bond. Like, that's kind of like the
Oh, that's true, too. Yeah,
I don't know if that's what really they were, but like, that's the vibe I got from it. It's like, wait a minute here. You're right, Mr. Reagan, because James Bond is supposed to be all like, romance, and I don't mean in the sense of sexual romance. I mean, it's like a romantic version of the Spy franchise. Yeah, to where it's like all these like, gadgets plus the women plus just the spectacular stunts, and Bond's got to do this or the world will end. Well, we know that, but wink, wink. He's got a girl waiting for him back at home when he's done. Like that is what's missing, it feels like, from the Bond franchise. And then that's why I joked about the Bourne thing, because that's what everybody kept saying, is that it feels like they just tried to do the Bourne Legacy with Bond. But yeah.
Well, that's 100% right, because I think sometimes what happens with Bond is it gets a little too silly. And this happens almost with every single iteration of James Bond. Starts out pretty cool. He's smoking cigarettes. He's sleeping with women. He's like, shit's happening. He's making an off the cuff comedic comment. Everybody laughs. Everybody loves it. And there's this perfect mix. And then it gets a little too silly. It gets a little too goofy as the movies go on. the second, third, fourth, fifth iteration of whatever it is, whatever franchise it happens to be, whatever actor's playing Bond, and then they bring in a new Bond, they do it right again, and then it kind of goes downhill. With Daniel Craig, I think they started off on the wrong foot from the beginning. I didn't really like Casino Royale. I know a lot of people love that movie. I just felt it took itself too seriously. It wasn't funny enough. I don't know. It just
Well,
we need
Mr.
to go
Reagan,
back to being more fun. I think.
Mr. Reagan, you know what is a lot of fun? Our gifted memberships from Jillian H. Who helped us reach our goal of 11 Salty Nerd gifted
Thank
memberships. Thank you, Jillian H.
Very nice.
And also as a member for 22 months, she says, made it at nearly the last minute to gift memberships. My team won the trivia playoffs. Yay.
Nice.
Way to go, Jillian.
Congrats.
Appreciate you. All right, guys, we had a lot to talk about today, and we talked about it. Want to thank my fantastic panel of nerds for coming here and discussing stuff nobody really cares about, as always. Odin from OMB Reviews, any final thoughts on where can people find more of you?
Yeah, you can find me over at OMB Reviews on YouTube, over on Rumble, over on Twitter/X as well. Box office breakdown video going live sometime around 3 p.m. tomorrow. And join me live every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And also over the summertime, 10 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday mornings. Thank you as always for having me.
Yes. And Odin, how does it feel to be Scotty Dub's second most favorite panelist?
Oh, it feels wonderful.
Yes.
Huge victory.
Wonderful. All right. And going to Scotty Dub's fifth most favorite panelist, Tom Connors Jr. from Midnight's Edge. Any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you, Tom Connors Jr.?
Well, I only have one final thought.
I like turtles.
And you can find me at Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark.
And tomorrow
all
you're
action
doing the
figures are
Jaws.
sold. Yes.
Tomorrow you're doing the
Not-
Jaws 50th
Yes,
anniversary.
tomorrow
Yep.
night, 8 p.m.
Good
Are
stuff.
you hinting because you want to be there, Matt? You're more than welcome if you want to. Okay.
Nope. Sunday's my day off, so gotta keep the Sabbath holy, you know.
You've never pumped anything like you have this, so that's why I had to ask. So
No, it's the first one I knew about, so I saw it in the YouTubes today, so I just wanted to make sure people knew about it. Speaking of knowing people, like Mr. Reagan, I'm sorry that your internet prevented you from joining us for the first hour, but our second hour was pure fire thanks to your participation. Any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Yeah, I'm just Mr. Reagan on the YouTubes, and let's see how it goes. Maybe we'll do another channel or two coming up here, and I'll have to jump on your beautiful podcast here and pitch it. So we'll see how that goes. We need to talk, actually, Matt. I need to call you later.
Yes, indeed. We talk all the time, but it's always a pleasure to talk to you, Mr. Reagan. And Brian, Scotty Dub's third most favorite panelist.
Yeah, read and weep, losers.
Any final thoughts? Where can people find more of you? And when's the next Brain Show happening?
Brain Show is going to happen next Saturday. There won't be a video edit to get in the way, so that will definitely happen. And tomorrow, well, I mean, maybe later today, but more than likely early tomorrow, our next documentary comes out, and it's going to be a banger. And we are trying to... the fiasco that is Superman Lives, Superman Flyby, and eventually Superman Returns.
I'll watch that.
Yeah, it's a very cool story. It's actually really funny. And we're trying to get videos out, documentaries out every couple weeks now. We're trying to up our output this year. So, check out the podcast when you want to learn some stuff about cool movies and TV shows.
All right. And the honorary mention of Scotty Dub's list, Dutch Butters. Any final thoughts? What's going on the gaming channel?
I don't even know what to say about that. Kind of upset. I'm kind of upset at Scotty Dub right now. But, whatever. Kind of want to cry a little bit.
Well, you're William Forbes.
We love you, Dutch.
So.
Yeah. William Forbes loves me. So, no.
Correction, he loves your feet.
Well, he's never seen my feet. Nobody's ever actually seen my feet.
Yeah, but he wants to see.
So
them.
you
Are we doing a foot calendar?
It's the illusion.
No, there's no.
Because I got to get a pedicure.
It's the implication of your feet.
What we need to do is a bald head calendar, and you and me and Odin and Matt and all of us, we can just have pictures at the top.
I have a full, luscious head of hair, so I wouldn't worry.
So, well, then
You
can't
know what
be in
we
the
should
calendar.
do? We put our heads together, and then we put a bra on top of our heads. and it looks like boobs, right?
Drawn.
But then everybody has to
Something like
guess
that.
which two heads they are every month.
Yeah.
Odin
Is
is
it-
not amused.
Odin? Is it Tom? Is it Dutch? Is it Tom?
I would
Odin?
abstain from this.
We're not really showing any boobs, though.
It's
Odin.
the
No, it's just-
implication, Tom.
It's just bald heads.
Bald heads and beards.
It's
That's
just
what we
bald
do.
heads.
Bald heads and bald boobs.
Whoa. Bald heads.
I love
and-
you guys.
Yeah, okay.
Take-
Dutch
take
Butters
the- take the
Gaming,
broad
guys.
of it
Dutch
and then
Butters
you'll be fine.
Gaming.
He
That's where
likes
you
to
can
play
find
games.
me. I like to play games. We're
Did
doing.
you play Donkey Kong?
I could actually. I would love to play Donkey Kong. That would be super fun. I want to do like a retro night where we do like Pac-Man,
Pac-Man?
and Big Doug and stuff like
Yeah.
that. That's
Nice.
So for 4 live streams coming up this week, Helldivers, Dark Tide, and we're going to be diving into old school Halo. My crew has talked me into going through the Halo games on the Master Chief Collection. So I'm going to live through those because I never played them back in the day, and now I have a chance to do it. So I'm going to
Can't
experience
wait to
that.
watch that stream.
That'll be fun.
And Culture
yeah.
Casino for $5. I have enough hair for all of you.
This is true.
So
Culture is a
we've-
very hairy dude.
So we've
Yeah, so Dutch Butters Gaming, guys, that's where you can find me. Let's get out of here.
don't listen
Indeed.
to Culture.
Want to give a
It's
big shout out to everyone who supported us throughout the live stream today. Scotty Dub, Mephisto's Movie Reviews, who will be starting his show directly after the show ends. Way Too Dumb for This Shit. Hemorrhoid Hurts. Mexican Iron Man, Fluffy Panda, Kaliki Oki, Darth Maul's Lower Half, Drew D, and Culture Casino. Thank you guys so much for all the support. And thank you to our special guest, Mr. Reagan, for finally showing up for his promoted live stream.
2 weeks later.
2 weeks later, yes. But love you, Mr. Reagan. Thank you for being here today. And to everyone out there, join us next week. Same salty time, same salty channel for more Salty Saturdays. And until next time, stay salty, my friends.